Just yesterday, Ashton Forbes, a researcher on MH370 airplane disappearance, shared a new observation for the video of the 3 orbs encircling the Malaysian aircraft that vanished back in 2014. Let's read. You can actually see one of the orbs in MH370 satellite video accurately displace the smoke trail behind the plane as it passes through. This detail is undeniable evidence of authenticity. We're looking at a real event in real orbs. That's his claim. And so this is a quote tweet to this message. In this message, he notes that with video stabilization, you can see how the plane was being tracked over a distance, also supporting its authenticity. So looking at this with my own eyes, I'll go ahead and start the video. So we have the plane flying. Here the orb, one orb, and soon it's joined by 2 orbs, and the third one comes in. Starting at 8 seconds, we're going to go ahead and frame walk it. So we have the 1 orb, it's moving, and look at as it goes through the trail at the back of the plane. Here's the trail that's coming from the aircraft. Here's the orb. Let's see what happens here as we go through the trail there. Boom. You see a little bit of displacement of the trail. Here's the little head there. Boom, boom. You can see that, and it kind of goes in a little bit. So we're going to continue to move it. You would just see maybe the trail's a bit broken up, but that's about it. So I'm going to scroll forward the video some more. So now we have 3 in formation. Okay, this is the second point. We're at 13 seconds in. Boom. The orb cutting through the trail here is not the easiest to appreciate, but I'll delineate it for you. So we have it going through. You can sort of see it bowing out with the orb that just went through it. So I'll draw that. This is more or less the shape that's formed by the orb going through. And there's a nice little remnant left over. The remnant, in my view, is more of the smoking gun, that this is not VFX, and this is something that likely really existed somehow, as difficult it is to believe. So the orb goes through, and then look at this right here. I'm just going to delineate it. So this thing, this little pointy part right there, so that's like a remnant of the orb going through. It's some contrail that's just puffed out to the right of the airplane. And if we move the frame, we'll see that that little puff actually travels. So it's right there. And we're just going to move the frame here, and it's right there. It's just traveling. Really, it's stationary because the plane's moving, but it looks like from our perspective that's traveling that way. That's huge. That's absolutely enormous. This part, some detractors may argue, is like a error within the video processing. Maybe not much unlike these supposed reptilian glitches that we've seen in videos of the past. You have normal pupils, and then it just freakifies out there. But this little traveling remnant, that's key. That is extremely difficult to fake. That'll be a very, very high effort fakery. And for what gain? Here the video is recolored and it shows a similar phenomena. So you have the orb go through, there's a break, and then there's a little remnant that's traveling backwards. In a previous video, I analyzed some possible subtle cloud movement which occurred during that specific take of footage, and that was additional support, lending credibility to the video's authenticity. Then more recently, 3 weeks ago, I presented a Twitter user's theory about an old video game asset from the late 90s being used to somehow fake the videos. In this video titled MH370 Plane Teleportation Finally Debunked, I took the allegedly old MP4 asset provided to us, supposedly from the Pyromania 1 CD, and using Adobe, followed the provided steps to blow up the image of the explosion to show that it appeared very similar to the actual teleportation blast of the MH370 plane. And while these are not perfect, they are indeed very similar, with just additional touch-up being possible to make it appear more exactly similar. I then showed similarities with the other explosion sequence that was seen in the flare footage captured supposedly by a drone. Indeed, very similar shapes. But the conclusion that I draw from viewing this is that the efforts are indeed very high. Sky-high efforts to actually truly falsify this plane disappearance video. Very high efforts to take an MP4 video asset and alter it such that it appears to be a source for a different video. Between the two extremes of fakery, I'm more inclined to believe that the MH370 video is real. The motive for covering up a real event is more tenable. The benefit is pushing away the journalists and other key influencers who could popularize the notion of restricted hyper-advanced technology that can completely transform the world. With the Twitter files and other revelations, It's well known that the agencies, at great expense, try to cover up various things to protect the public, supposedly. But really, the name of the game is protecting specific vested interest in keeping the status quo. I'm really curious to see how the debunkers are going to explain away this one. I'll admit that I've not invested myself into the evidence as much as Ashton has. I believe if I saw and understood to the depth this individual does, I probably would be even more convinced of its authenticity. But just from my perspective, you only need a few key facts to prove if something's true or false, and I think the burden of evidence has been met, surprisingly. It's a fascinating world. This video shows us that humans are very advanced at co-opting technology that may not be ours for this timeline, or advanced at fooling ourselves.